My name is Harry Forbes. I'm from ARC Advisory Group, and welcome to this session on open process automation end user OPA programs. I welcome you here, and I think we'll have a unique opportunity to chat with some of the end users that are driving this program. But before we do, I'm just going to take a couple minutes to kind of introduce the session and explain to you our rationale for putting together what we did. Alan, can you cue that first slide, please? Okay. Our rationale was this: if you welcome back after COVID, if you've been Rip Van Winkle for the last 2 years, here's what you missed, and this is just my opinion. First of all, the OPAS standards development continued through the pandemic, and its current release is now 2.1. They've had a number of activities. Their conformance program is getting underway. They've had PlugFest or interoperability events and a number of commercial and outreach activities. There'll be more information on that in detail tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. to noon. There'll be a session that's entirely content created by the Open Process Automation Forum. Other activities that I think were kind of important were the formation of two consortiums. One is called COPA, the Coalition for Open Process Automation, and the other is called universalautomation.org. We'll have representatives of those two organizations on the panel at this session as well, and both of them are sponsors of the forum. So last year, we talked about end user activities in terms of the test labs that some of the major large corporations had built. So when we look at the spectrum of end user activities now, the ones that we picked out for this event were Equinor, where Equinor has not, to my knowledge, publicly talked about what they were doing with open process automation, are going to talk about it today to this audience. Second was ExxonMobil, which made a final investment decision for an open process automation field trial, which is a normal-sized process automation installation that would normally be implemented on a DCS. So they are conducting that field trial this year and next, and we're going to have their lead for open process automation talk about that particular project. The third topic is a end user / OEM named GR3N that is a heavy duty user of IEC 61499 and is also a member of the Open Process Automation Forum. So we thought they would bring a unique perspective to this event. And finally, we have a short video presentation from Shell. Yacho Abmir, who you're probably familiar with from the forum, will be presenting his story, or the Shell story. So again, COPA is a ARC forum sponsor. You can go over to their booth and talk to them in detail. I'm not going to talk too much about them, but you can visit them here. Likewise, universalautomation.org is also a forum sponsor. We'll have their CMO on our panel. But again, I'm not going to talk about them. We can talk about them in the context of the session. So these are the activities we're going to discuss in the session. We're going to begin with ExxonMobil talking about their field trial, followed by Equinor talking about their OPA program, then GR3N talking about their needs for open automation in their business, and then finally a video from Shell. So to begin with, I'd like to introduce Ryan Smeltzer, who's the OPA lead for ExxonMobil, and I'd like him to talk about the field trial that they're conducting now. And by the way, I'll try to keep this moving quickly so we have plenty of time for all of you to ask direct or pointed or any kind of question you want, because this is kind of a unique opportunity. So without further ado, Ryan Smeltzer.
All right, good afternoon. Yeah, it's my pleasure to join you today and talk about like a long legacy of work that has happened before I came into ExxonMobil and working in OPA, right? So The exciting part that Harry mentioned is we shared late last year public announcement that ExxonMobil was going forward with an OPA-based automation solution at one of our manufacturing facilities. So that'll be kind of the centerpiece of the discussion today. But I did want to start really talking a little bit about why OPA, what's that mean to ExxonMobil? I'm not going to read through the vision that's on this slide. I think that's been shared many times over in the past several years by both ExxonMobil and the OPA Forum. But really one of the things I wanted to touch upon here is, from an ExxonMobil perspective, what's our desired outcome? What are we working towards here effectively? What's the goal? And so from our perspective is really trying to get additional value from our automation investments. And so one of the things I stated in this slide, which is maybe a crisper articulation than was shared previously, is we're looking to move forward with all ExxonMobil projects embodying the principles and the quality attributes that we're pursuing with open process automation. And so I'll touch on a little bit of that. It's kind of outlined here at the bottom of this slide. I won't read through all this, but some of the big value proposition things to ExxonMobil really are application portability and reuse. Obviously we're looking to reduce total lifecycle cost of our automation solutions. And I could read through the rest of the list on this slide, but it's about creating value, both for brownfield, where we have some obsolescence challenges that are at our doorstep, as well as thinking longer term, how do we manage that for our existing facilities as well as our greenfield investments, whether that's in expanding downstream capabilities or it's in our new low carbon solutions business. So again, just want to replay, we've shared some of this portion of the slide 2 years ago at ARC. We did a lot of work in ExxonMobil in 2016 through 2018, really convincing ourselves internal to ExxonMobil that we had the technical know-how, had the product availability that we could implement an open process automation solution to accomplish the traditional mission, I would say, of a DCS or a PLC. And so that work has continued and manifested in what we call our prototype, which is implementing an OPA-based system in a catalyst testing facility. So that was on stream, hydrocarbon, at pressure, at temperature, and continuous operation. And again, that was in early 2020. And so that really informed the state of the art internal to ExxonMobil and where we were heading. We took the learnings from that, fed it back to the OPA Forum, which is the group that's setting the standards around open process automation. And then ultimately took those learnings and fed it into what we call our test bed. So really think of the test bed as a development system. So the development system, in our case, this test bed gave us the ability to get hands-on with the best and available products in the marketplace, as well as develop relationship with suppliers and technology providers to understand what's working, what's not working, and collaborate and work together. The other thing I'll mention is we've been working purposefully to collaborate with other operating companies, other end users, through a vehicle we call the Collaboration Partnership, as well as with the OPA Forum, really to share our learnings, right? And so through hands-on, time-on tools, sweat equity, working with products, integrating those products, and then sharing that learning both, again, with the forum and other end users. And then the more recent announcement, it was late last year, was our plans to go forward based on the learning both in the prototype, the test bed, and subsequently to take that technology and the learning to the field and really, take the next step in commercializing, is a term we would use in our R&D space, is determine technical readiness and commercial readiness for OPA at scale. So this is the next step in progressing with that commercial readiness. So, I'll just draw your attention. I used some stock photos here. There's some symbology here. Like I have a little slide automation, not to get too fancy on you, but, stock photo meaning think of the state of the possible, the conceptual, And then how do you make that the reality? And so that's really the focus of what we've been doing in ExxonMobil over the past couple years, really leading up to, like I said, the field trial project that I'll detail here a little bit. But the OPA testbed has informed our basis, de-risked the technology, de-risked the ability to deploy OPA and what we think will be the likely support and sustainment approach for an OPA-based system, to ultimately take that, the learnings from the testbed, which is the picture in the upper left-hand corner, and move that to the field. And right, so the field trial project, to give you a little bit of the details on that without getting into the weeds, it's a pretty significant scale, 2,000 plus IO, around 90 to 100 control loops, a single operator post. And then the other thing I mentioned on here that's material is thinking about how do we achieve that standard runtime environment. Our focus for this field trial continues to be on using 61499 runtime, so the IEC standard control runtime, which we'll talk a little bit more about in later portions of this presentation, as well as extensive use of OPC UA. So that's just gives you a flavor of the scope. You know, why are we ExxonMobil doing this, right? And so I mentioned already this is on our path to technical and commercial readiness, but we're not doing this as an academic exercise, right? If we're going to invest this money in a fielded application at one of our manufacturing facilities, we need to make more money, right? So ultimately it needs to have a return. So we're going to manage obsolescence, we're going to deliver value, and we're also going to learn, right? We're going to inform what does the support and service model look like so we can have a better informed understanding of the total cost of ownership of an OPA-based solution for automation. And we're going to feed all that learning back into things like the Open Process Automation Forum, as well as collaboration partnership, as well as sharing that information publicly as appropriate. So this slide I put up here not to scare anyone away, right? And so this is just a simplified architecture of really our test bed. So I want to be clear, this is the test bed implementation, not the field trial architecture. But the purpose for putting this slide back up, and we've shared versions of this previously, is to show, you know, the reason for the test bed again is about engagement, right? Learning, collaboration, engagement, what products are available, what meets the intent of the standard, what meets ExxonMobil's requirements for delivering process control and automation solutions for manufacturing. And so I just wanted to highlight that this is an engagement that involves a lot of different players. This slide is not comprehensive, but gives you a flavor of 20 plus suppliers of different technology solutions that are at work in our test bed. And many of those suppliers are engaged on a fairly frequent basis, understanding, again, what is working, what's not working, and how do we make it work. And the only other thing I'll mention here is at the bottom, near the bottom, it's one of the topics here. We'll have an opportunity at the Intel poolside gathering after this session. ExxonMobil, Intel, and some folks will be available to talk about some of the work we're doing, in particular on focus. And so Dave Hedgety-Batar in the prior session mentioned this. So we're looking at an open architecture where we can have interchangeable compute and I/O. And ultimately, one of the concepts that's embodied there is landing your wires one last time, where you have analogs, obviously. And so that from then on, your upgrade path is just deliver compute and I/O as needed on a shared backplane. So we'll talk more about that and have a chance to get together and discuss that at the Intel Social after this session. But one other exciting area we've been collaborating with some technology leaders in is around the advanced computing platform. And so the advanced computing platform in my thinking really serves as a bit of our nervous center for our OPA system that we're going to put into our field trial that I talked about, really using the latest of really the IT and OT convergence topic, using the latest IT technologies in an OT fashion to deliver software-defined high availability, right, is really the focus. So we see this as a differentiating technology set involving the 6 parties I show here, including ExxonMobil with Dell, VMware, Intel, Schneider Electric, and Yokogawa, coming together to provide a solution that we see as being part of the next step in making OPA value differentiating. So part of what's unique here is obviously the intent is to run control runtime. Think of it as above the bus, so your network, right? So the ability to deliver container-based control without having physical hardware redundancy to achieve high availability. So I'm going pretty fast because I know we have a lot of ground to cover, but just a few closing comments. Again, I think it's probably fairly obvious in my messaging, hopefully today, that ExxonMobil is continuing to invest in open process automation. We see open process automation as part of our digital transformation. I know that was a subject that's been touched on throughout today. It's access to more and better data at the layer of the architecture where you need that data. What individual needs the data? OPA gives you some of the optionality of bringing that data into the stack where the insight's needed and where the information can be acted upon. It also sets you up for some of the autonomous operations, so it was part of the prior discussion today. And it's really a cornerstone for what we're doing in digital transformation. I think one of the other aspects I wanted to touch on today is there has been progress as Harry introduced the session with the standards. So again, sufficient progress such that through the testbed work, we're convinced that we can field a successful OPA implementation at our manufacturing facility through the field trial project that I touched upon. And then the last point I would make is success really requires, industry to work together, to collaborate, right? And so part of the messaging here is just encouraging dialogue, discussion. ExxonMobil's been very open to share what we've been doing, what we've learned, what's working, what's not working, and really engage, open for that type of engagement, both with suppliers, other end users, and other players in the ecosystem. So it really requires all of us to work together to really deliver the value add through our future automation investments. So I'm going to wrap up with that and look forward to questions later during the panel.